smashed the glass, as you can see. Then it looked like a horror movie.
A seemingly random attack puts patrons in danger. What police say set an assault suspect off inside the diner just ahead. And a dad behind bars, what police say they caught him doing behind the wheel with his 7-year-old daughter along for the ride. Plus, the spring wind makes a comeback, ripping across the state and kicking up dust. Will it be back today? And what to expect in your forecast just ahead. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to KRQE News 13 this morning. I'm Adam Atchison.
And I'm Kristen Curry. Today is Tuesday, April 26th.
All right, we're talking headlines here in just a second, but first, the wind and a little bit cooler out there this morning. Feels a whole lot cooler than yesterday.
Yeah, definitely cooler to start. I do want to begin, though, with a look at those numbers. I don't know what happened to the colors behind those numbers, but hopefully you guys can read that. 36 in Taos. We're looking at 45 here in the metro, with more of those 40s and 50s as you get into the southern portions of the state. So certainly a jacket needed to start. And notice the difference between right now and 24 hours ago. We're down a good 12 degrees in both Farmington and Gallup. Even Albuquerque, 7 degrees cooler out across the boot heel as well. So yeah, the jacket needed to start. And even this afternoon, I would keep it on standby because our afternoon highs likely to be stuck in the upper 50s to low 60s underneath that mix of sun and clouds. Now, we will see some sunshine in here, but again, it's going to be a transition day as this storm passes to the north of us. It's still going to kick up the winds. We'll go breezy to windy with the possibility of the blowing dust and high fire danger in some parts of the state. But the severe storm threat that we have here, that's going to be further off to the east, out of New Mexico, but into parts of Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas. But it is going to be a very dangerous day for parts of the plains. So we'll go over that in case you have family in the area. But even here in New Mexico, we got a couple more storms on the way. We have 3 in the 7-day forecast right now. I'll break down what you can expect out of these storms coming up.
Meantime, 6:02 this morning, a family is grieving the loss of 3 people killed by a suspected drunk driver, including an 18-month-old baby. This as 4 other family members are still fighting for their lives in a nearby hospital. A family of 7 started the drive to Albuquerque Saturday night after a birthday party at a relative's house in Moriarty, but they never made it. Pablo Caldera, I should say, and his 22-year-old daughter, Yusalet, and his 18-month-old granddaughter, Citlali, died after the Torrance County Sheriff says Cesar Chavez was drunk and veered into their lane, hitting their car.
I don't know, those people would do anything for you. They would do anything for you, and they were always there, always there. Pablo always with a smile, and his daughter. Very nice people. We're going to miss him.
The crash also sent Pablo's wife, his other daughter, and 2 sons to the hospital with injuries. The sheriff says this is at least the 3rd DWI arrest for Chavez. The victim's family is now trying to raise money for funeral services, and you can find information about their GoFundMe page right now on the KRQE News app. Also happening now, Albuquerque police are looking for a person who they say hit a pedestrian, killing them, and then drove away. It happened on 2nd Street near Mountain yesterday. APD says that they believe the victim was hit by a small white or silver pickup truck, possibly with a New Mexico plate, and the number 620 RCS. If you have any information, you are asked to call police. Next week, Albuquerque Public Schools will continue its series of public meetings to discuss the district's new academic master plan. Last night, school officials met with some parents and teachers. New APS Superintendent Raquel Reedy says the plan will focus on preparing students for the future, starting in kindergarten. And that means supporting kids who may not be getting food, health care, or guidance at home so that they're able to learn in the classroom. The first meeting was held yesterday in the Rio Grande High School Library. The second of 4 meetings is scheduled for next week at Highland High. Also happening today, the Water Utility Authority will host an open house and public meeting regarding a project to realign a major sewer line in southwest Albuquerque. It's all to improve sewer flow and reduce sewer odor near Yucca and Central. They will also replace old water lines. Once this design's been finalized, the project could start by late summer, and it's scheduled to take about 6 months to finish up. Tonight's meeting, by the way, will be held at the Alamosa Community Center. The open house will take place from 5:30 to 6. The presentation and public comments will follow until about 7:30 p.m. A federal investigation into Honda is closed this morning. The U.S. government says Honda has taken all necessary steps in making sure that it accurately reports on deaths and injuries connected with its vehicles. Honda paid a $70 million fine after admitting that it did not report more than 1,700 complaints that its vehicles caused deaths, even injuries. It's still unclear this morning whether Tom Brady will appeal his 4-game suspension for the second time. This as fan reaction is pouring into the recent decision.
Suspend the top guy in the organization, then to fine the organization $1 million and take away the draft pick, that's pretty severe for something that you can't even really prove.
Brady was originally suspended for 4 games over allegations that he was involved in the underinflating of game footballs. A U.S. district court, though, overturned the suspension last year. Yesterday, a New York court upheld the suspensions. This, if it sticks, Brady could miss the first 4 Patriots games this year. Brady and the NFL Players Association can either fight for a stay in the decision, appeal it to a full Second Circuit appeals court, or even ultimately to the Supreme Court. An Albuquerque dad is facing child abuse charges this morning after police say he used heroin while driving with his child in the car. Albuquerque police say an off-duty officer caught 27-year-old Richard Diaz on San Mateo on Sunday. He followed the car, called on-duty officers, and then they pulled him over. Police say they found syringes on the floorboard along with other drug paraphernalia. They say they found a 7-year-old girl in the back seat too, and that child is with a family member today. Diaz remains behind bars. 6:06 this morning, the feds are going after the bank accounts of a disgraced real estate mogul from Albuquerque. Doug Vaughn is serving a 12-year prison sentence for bilking hundreds of investors out of $75 million. The feds have filed an application to take his money now, and they say of the more than $43 million that he owes to his victims, Vaughn has paid just $340. They're going after his accounts at Bank of America, New Mexico Bank and Trust, and Washington Federal. Thousands of Intel workers in Rio Rancho may be a little more relieved this morning as they head to work. The company released the list yesterday of plants that will be hardest hit, and they include a plant in Washington State that's being shut down completely. Several other plants will see dramatic cuts in production. Rio Rancho's plant's not one of them, though. Intel announced last week it's cutting 12,000 jobs total. The move is part of a company's effort to reorganize amid a decline in sales of personal computers. This morning, one of Albuquerque's most iconic restaurants is all but gone. Crews have demolished Paul's Monterey Inn at Lomas and Juan Tabo. It had been open since the 70s, but financial problems forced it to close last year. Paul's Monterey Inn has been featured in several hit TV shows, including Breaking Bad. No word yet on what might replace it, but a lot of people are going to miss it. Sad to see it go. A Seattle man is expected in court this morning after he was caught on camera randomly attacking diners in a restaurant.
This came, smashed the glass, as you can see. Then it looked like a horror movie.
Yeah, over the weekend, police say that man kicked in a window pane at a popular restaurant and then began attacking diners with a giant piece of glass. Before heading outside with the weapon, the man chased patrons around the store, threatening them. And that's when those who witnessed all of this say he went outside and allegedly attacked a security guard.
And he's trying to cut me on the head, trying to stab me with the piece of glass. Finally, I grabbed it and threw it on the ground and smashed it.
Quick thinking, that'd be terrifying. Police say it took 3 people to subdue the guy. This morning, investigators believe he was high on meth and PCP, and he is now facing assault charges. Well, a young bear is back in the wild this morning after leading officials on a 2-hour chase near Los Angeles. Look at this. The animal was first seen roaming on a college campus last night. And that's when police and other officials went after the bear. He kept getting away, though. All the officers that responded here, including a helicopter. He scaled walls and fences in the neighborhood and ran through streets and front yards. An animal control officer eventually tranquilized him, and the 2-year-old cub was later released back into the national forest, back where he belongs. I'm sure he was just as scared as everybody else that saw this happening.
Tire marks on the side of his face and a little bit of swelling. It's a tough kid.
Neighbors jump into action after a teen pins himself underneath a truck. How their quick thinking helped him survive a freak accident. And more public input on a controversial plan when the community has a chance to weigh in again on another part of a massive proposed development for Albuquerque's west side. Also taking matters into their own hands, how one school says it's been forced to deal with speeding drivers on its own, and what police are saying about getting involved in protecting students. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to KRQE News 13 this morning. It's good to have you here. I'm Adam Atchison.
And I'm Kristen Curry. Today is Tuesday, April 26th.
Well, as we begin the day, not only is it cooler because you can feel it out there, we're dealing with the wind again.
Yes, this afternoon the wind returns. It's not going to be as bad as what we had yesterday, but certainly noticeable this afternoon. I wanted to start with our gorgeous sunrise taking place out over the San Diaz How awesome is that with the silhouette of downtown right there? This is a cool shot, and this is how you start a Tuesday. 45 degrees is where we're at now. Those northerly winds down to about 8 miles per hour. Now the winds will be more westerly, that is, as we get into this afternoon, and they'll be about 20 to 30 miles per hour. So of course that's something you're going to notice, as well as the dip in the numbers. Now this morning we're in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. This afternoon we're going to be in the 50s, 60s, and some 70s. So we're dealing with that. We're also dealing with a high pollen count, almost identical to yesterday, but Mulberry's still up to high, and medium is where we're at with Elm, and that was down to low yesterday. So if you're easily agitated with those allergens, it's going to be a rough day today. But temperature-wise, again, upper 50s to low 60s. We should be pushing low 70s this time of year. So unseasonably cool this afternoon. The warm-up kicks back in tomorrow, but when it comes to the 7-day, we got 2 more storms to look forward to. So I'll break down everything you need to know about that forecast coming up here in about 15 minutes.
See you then, Kristen. Thanks. Just into our newsroom this morning, new details in the search for a driver who Albuquerque police say hit an officer. Police say that officer noticed a suspicious vehicle near California and Gibson about 10 last night. And as that officer went to check on the situation, police say they noticed a woman in the driver's seat. According to police, when the officer told her to get out, instead she took off, hitting the officer as she drove away. Investigators say APD and Bernalillo County Sheriff's deputies did chase her, but they called off that chase due to dangerously high speeds. The officer was not seriously hurt, said to be doing okay this morning, but now, within the last 45 minutes, police now are saying that they're looking for a blue 2010 Toyota Corolla, like the one that you see on the screen. They believe it's stolen. It has a temporary tag and a broken driver's side door window. The woman is described as a Spanish adult, 28 to 34, somewhere in those ages, red hair, wearing all black. If you have any information, you're asked to call police, and they're warning people not to approach the car or the driver. As kids head to school this morning, neighbors living near one Albuquerque middle school say a busy street nearby is dangerous for students.
That's really terrifying as a parent to just think like, okay, well, one slip up and, you know, that's it for those kiddos.
We checked out the stretch of Comanche across from McKinley Middle School yesterday afternoon and saw just how close those cars are getting to students. There are signs posted, flashing lights, but neighbors say that doesn't matter. We clocked some cars going over 40 in a 30-mile-per-hour zone through there. McKinley's assistant principal and staff have taken it upon themselves to help direct traffic when school lets out, to help make sure that kids are safe.
A lot of cars don't pay attention to the lights flashing or anything. They just go whatever speed they feel like going. Some don't even stop at the crosswalk when there's kids there, and we're trying to tell them to stop.
Neighbors say they'd like to see Albuquerque police in that area writing speeding tickets. We did contact police. It's something the department tells us they'd be happy to do to ensure students' safety. Happening this week, community members are expected to sound off in another round of meetings on the controversial Santa-Lena project. The nearly 14,000-acre community is planned for the west side between Atrisco Heritage High School, the Metropolitan Detention Center, and all along Central and I-40. The first of 4 meetings is scheduled to be held tomorrow. It's set to address the development's transportation plan, which considers which roads must be built to support the overall project. You'll find more information about those meetings and how you can participate on the KRQE News app. New this morning, in just hours now, Bernalillo County commissioners are scheduled to vote on putting your open space tax money to use by purchasing a large chunk of open space on Arenal Road. Residents voted yes on an open space tax in 2014 that would raise $2.8 million per year to buy and maintain open space lands. Commissioner Maggie Hart-Stebbins says the acquisition of 23 acres on Arenal Road across from Rio Grande High School will be the first purchase with that money. It would be the first purchase. She adds that this piece of land has been on their radar for quite a while. As soon as they make a decision, we'll pass it along here on KRQE this morning and on the news app. Also later this week, part of the Louisiana interchange will reopen to drivers with a new lane. DOT crews have installed a new left turn lane onto northbound Louisiana from eastbound I-40. That is set to open this Friday, but drivers won't be able to head south on Louisiana. The entire southbound lane, so all the southbound lanes of Louisiana from the bridge to Constitution will be closed.
It has been difficult, we know, we understand, but this should be well worth it in the end.
As long as the weather doesn't stop construction, the entire project is scheduled to be finished up in June. Protests continue in North Carolina this morning over the state's so-called bathroom bill. More than 50 people were arrested last night. This morning, 2 more musicians are refusing to perform in the state. Both Nick Jonas and Demi Lovato have canceled concert dates there. It's all over what's known as House Bill 2. It's a law that limits the use of public restrooms to the gender on the person's birth certificate. Opponents say it discriminates against transgendered people. Supporters argue it only applies to government buildings and is designed to keep restrooms safe. Time coming up on 6:37 and happening right now. The polls are now open for today's primaries in 5 states. This is a live look in Maryland, where as you can see voters heading up here to register and then getting ready to cast their vote. They're already lined up in many other areas. GOP frontrunner Donald Trump is poised to rack up a majority of the delegates at stake today, despite recent plans by Ted Cruz and John Kasich to derail his bid. Democrat Hillary Clinton also expected to win big today, putting her even closer to clinching the nomination over Bernie Sanders. Pennsylvania, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, and Rhode Island are all holding primaries today. And those plans between Cruz and Kasich include New Mexico, with Cruz agreeing not to campaign here and Kasich agreeing not to campaign in Indiana. It's all in an effort to keep those delegates away from Trump. But now UNM political science professor Gabe Sanchez says he doesn't believe that strategy will affect our state very much at all. He says the most recent poll involving New Mexico was the Albuquerque Journal poll from February, which had Kasich dead last, including among candidates who've already dropped out of the race. Sanchez says Cruz really gets more of a benefit from this pact than Kasich, saying the move is more about Indiana, which is holding a primary next week, not New Mexico's primary, which is coming up on June 7th. A California teen is alive this morning thanks to the help of some very alert bystanders. The 17-year-old boy was working on his truck when the jack slipped from underneath it and sent the 5,000-pound vehicle straight down on top of him. There it happened, right there. Newly released video shows the moment that is slammed down on his head and shoulders. You can see in the video neighbors, even a UPS driver, scrambling to free him. Finally, they were able to get him out. Firefighters say if he had fallen an inch one way or the other, he could have died.
The truck was on top of his head. I was pretty surprised. I saw the tire marks on the side of his face and a little bit of swelling, and it's a tough kid.
Yeah, he is. He's lucky, too. The teen says he's really lucky, and the near-death experience has helped him focus on what's important.